Your attention, please. That's the talk title today. And usually when we hear your attention, please, most folks stop talking. They put down what they're reading. Unless, of course, you're on an airplane and you've heard it for the 100th time, all the safety precautions, and you're just kind of reading along and having your conversation. But when we hear your attention, please, it is a call to stop and to pay attention, to begin to listen intently, not only with our ears, which we have 2 of them. So we have 2 ears, not just to hear, but to listen. The activity of listening requires not only that we intake with our ears, but that we also focus with our minds and with our hearts, that we seek to understand the message that is about to be given to us. Your attention, please, is simply a call for us to pay attention, for us to become still and know something, or become aware of something great and something good. And so as I speak to you today a little bit just about paying attention, of course, what we pay attention to is what indeed we experience. But y'all already knew I was going to say that, right? What it is that we pay attention to is exactly that which we begin to experience, simply by the fact that we are giving it our undivided attention. I remember a time where, and I may have talked about this once or twice before, where there was a guy driving in the desert, and he falls asleep. But on this long stretch of road, there are these huge cement, concrete, cylinder telephone poles, and they are spaced 30 feet apart as you go down the road. So 30 feet, here's one, another 30 feet, there's another, and so it goes down the long, narrow stretch. And the guy falls asleep. But he wakes up because he's hitting those watts in the road. And he wakes up and he sees that his car is going toward the big cement telephone pole. So he says, don't hit the pole, don't hit the pole, don't hit the pole. What's he going to hit? The pole, because that's where his attention is versus or compared to the 30 feet in between. The 30 feet, that's more than, 30 feet between the poles. Interestingly enough, we've been socialized, we've been trained to look for the absence of good. Somehow or another, we have come to accept mediocrity as our good. We have come to accept lack and limitation as our good. We have come to accept fear and hatred as our good. Somehow or another, we have accepted doom and gloom as that's our good. Like, we ain't gonna get anything better than that. And yet, Emma Curtis Hopkins teaches us and simply states that that which we seek and that which we're paying attention to is what we get to receive. And if indeed we are looking at something less than the wholeness and the goodness that God is, we're shortchanging ourselves. Now, some of us have studied along. I know we have some of our home students here tonight, so welcome to you and welcome to those who are live streaming with us this evening. And some of us have gone along this path of becoming practitioners or studying and matriculating to classes, and we can say, hey, I'm doing so much better in this area. I'm more giving, I'm more loving, I'm more trusting. Good. As it should be. There is good in the world, and I ought to have it. And yet, we must become fully aware and we must become watchful that we're not patting ourselves on the back Be like, look what I've become. Look what I've done. Look, check out my degree. Look at all the nice things I do. You know, I went to feed the hungry and the folks experiencing homelessness last week. Look at me, look at me. We must become fully aware and be cautious not to boast ourselves up to such a place to where people will then begin to look at us and go, well, she's doing great in that area, but in that area over there, not so much. Because, of course, in every area of our lives, there's room for growth and unfoldment. And yes, there's room for praise and room for congratulatory hugs and places where we can say, yes, I've come a long way in this area. And it feels good because good is ours already. It's already what's ours. Why would I expect something other than what is already mine? It just doesn't make sense. But we want to be aware that we're not becoming boastful about those areas in our lives that we're doing so great at, that we're casting a shadow upon those places where we get to still grow and unfold and flourish and flower and shine. That there's many areas in our lives where we get to really know our health and wholeness, our oneness. That we get to know that that which is true of God, that which is true of good, is true about us. You know, this week in going over, how many folks are having fun with Emma Curtis Hopkins in our book? Yeah, I can see by the raise of hands. Wow. What's been interesting about this particular week is this idea of denial. And she talks about the 5 denials, and she talks a little bit about coming to this place of knowing that, she says, evil is negation. Evil is negation. So when we see evil, what we're seeing is nothing, or actually what we're seeing is the lack of good. So when we continue to see doom and gloom, what we're actually affirming is that we lack seeing the wholeness that God is. When we see and experience sickness, what's happening really is that we are recognizing the lack in ourselves of knowing our wholeness and oneness with God. And what she's asking us to do is to look at things and actually deny them. And this denial process is pretty much the opposites of affirming the truth. So when she says there is no evil, really what she's saying I'll translate, right? For Science of Mind folks. When she says there is no evil, really what she's saying is everything is God. Right? When she says there is no matter, no physical matter, really what she's saying is everything is spirit. Everything is spirit, and the way spirit projects itself, the way spirit outpictures itself, but it's all spirit. That there is no matter. She says there's no absence of life, substance, or intelligence in omnipresent God. So really all she's saying is God is life, God is substance, God is intelligence, God is omnipresent. There is no sickness or death. There's only eternal life. And so, depending upon which way we look at it, so I'm holding up a book. We can all say I'm holding up a book. And yet, the way I see the book and what I see about this book is a totally different perspective than what you see. But we're looking at a book. It's the same book. And you and I can begin to engage, if we choose to, in a dialogue or a discussion or a heated discussion as to who's right with what is being seen. But the truth is that we're talking about the same book. We just have a different perspective upon it. It reminds me of our vision, our global heart vision, where we see a world that is free from hunger. Someone could say, oh, free from hunger, or where there's no sickness, or no this, or no that. And other folks can go, oh, I see a world where people are fed. I see a world where people are whole. Your attention, please. So we're really looking at what are the things that we are paying attention to. Now, I know Ernest Holmes talks a lot about staying in the absolute, staying in the positive, staying in what is, and affirming the truth so that that's what we focus on. Because even to say that there is no this or no that is almost to affirm that there is. However, what Emma is actually doing is she's taking us up the ladder or up the stairs. So for instance, in order for me to get to the top, I could possibly, jump up there, but I have to take a first step. And for some of us, that first step may be the denial that there is no sickness and death until I can get to the point of there's only wholeness. Because to make that jump from there's only wholeness, there's only love, there's only God, there's only spirit, that is all that there is. Sometimes for some of us, depending on our spiritual path and our spiritual growth and unfoldment, that is a leap that we cannot take. That's like going up 4 or 5 steps. That's like trying to get from the first rung of the ladder to the 5th. It's possible, but it's going to take a lot of practice. Some of us may not even be tall enough to reach it, to even pull ourselves to that place. So what she's saying is that it is important for us to really go through that process, to really understand the nature of good, the nature of God. And if we must go through the process of saying, this doesn't exist, this doesn't exist, this doesn't exist, this is not real, then that's the process that we go through to get there. Make sense? Last week, we talked about the lies that act as a law in our lives. And hopefully between last week and this week, for those of you that were here with us, you have had an opportunity to uncover some of those lies for what they are. And it's the same thing that we're doing this week, but on another level. Because denying, or that denial process, really calling forth and just saying, that's not true, this is not the truth, this is the truth, is another way that we advance towards that place of knowing beyond the shadow of a doubt that right where I stand, my life is that life of God. It is who and what I am. Therefore, the good that I seek is my God. Therefore, there's nothing that can come to me. There's nothing in my experience. There's no thing outside of good, outside of God. Therefore, my experiences are that of health and wholeness, of pure joy, of love, of power, of peace, of harmony. If I'm expecting anything outside of that, I am not recognizing and realizing who I am. Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? When we don't recognize that this life energy is in fact our daddy, if you will, is in fact who we are. Like Jesus the Christ clearly stated, he didn't stutter either. He didn't stutter. He said, the Father and I are one. Meaning that life energy, that presence, that power, and I are one. There's nothing that can separate me from the life that God is. And either I believe it or I don't. But to the degree in which I know that for myself, I experience my freedom. I experience my birthright. It's kind of like this. You have all inherited whatever it is that's your joy. And it's unlimited. Whether it's unlimited money, unlimited joy, love, relationships, whatever it is, you've just inherited it. It's yours. But what you're doing with your inheritance is going, ooh, I'm only going to take a little bit today. I got to save some for tomorrow. Can't use it all up in one day. That's how silly it is. That God is living us. God is living us. But that we have allowed the world of effects to infiltrate the content of our consciousness to such a degree that we think that there's something else or something outside of God, a duality, or that we don't believe that this is our truth. And it's not our fault. A lot of us have been raised this way. But there's something within us that absolutely resonates with this truth. There's something that continues to nudge at you and just call you to knowing this truth for yourself. There's just something that continues to bring you to studying, to knowing, to practicing, to having, a visioning practice, a visualization practice, to having a meditation practice, a prayer practice, a group, coming together in group or being of sacred service. There's something that continues to call you forth to that practice so that you can just be in that place where you know deeper and deeper and deeper, where you can feel it and sense you're good, you're God. There's something that continues to call you forth. And yet some of us hear that and we think, I better go the other direction. Because if I leave what I know to be true, what shall happen in this unknown with this power, with this presence? What will become of me if I really surrender to this truth that God is living me? Therefore, my good is my God. Therefore, everything is working together for my good. As a matter of fact, everything's working together for every good, not just my personal good. And I begin to live from that place. I begin to pay attention to how I wake up in the morning instead of saying, "Oh, good God, it's morning." I'm like, "Good morning, great God. Good morning, life. Good morning, love. Good morning, joy. Good morning, peace. Good morning, abundance. Good morning, wholeness. Are you ready for me?" It's not, am I ready for it? Are you ready for me? Here I come. Bring it on. Bring it on. And yet, when we're faced with the day-to-day activities that continuously tell us that we're small, that we're not good enough, in the face of sometimes illness, in the face of other people getting sick, we must stand in this truth. We must see our fellow humanity, our divine humanity. We must see the truth in them. It takes practice, y'all. It needs your attention. And what I hear is that sometimes we're too broke to pay attention. Meaning that sometimes we feel so broken because our focus is on the absence of good. And that's when we begin to experience that feeling of brokenness, of there's something wrong. Why is it happening for her? Rev, if there's good and good ought to happen for me or good is mine, then where's mine? And we start focusing one more time, again, on the absence of good. But you know what? Emma says in her book, and I'm paraphrasing, she says, a mother cannot breathe for her child. A mother cannot eat and nourish that child by eating herself. Meaning the food that I take in, the air that I take in, cannot benefit my child. Because my child must eat and breathe on its own. It must take that in. And so our community must breathe. It must intake the truth. It must nourish and nurture itself with the truth so that we are healthy as a community, so that we continue to grow and unfold to the beautiful flowers in which we are, to the great big rugged trees. If you're a dude and that's important to you, you know, the big great rugged trees, you can grow to be that. But it's on an individual basis. What is it that you're feeding yourself? Where's your attention? And when you notice that you're allowing the world of effects to knock you off your step, you just get back on it. Look, I fell off again. No biggie. What's the truth? There's one power, one presence, one life. That life is my life now. That life is perfect. That life is whole. That life is eternal. That life is peace. That life is abundance. That life is joy. So that means that that's who I am. That's what that means. I deny lack and limitation. There is no such thing. I put that aside. I put aside illness, this idea that my body is less than whole. I keep my eye on the prize that that which is true about God is true about me, because I'm it. I'm it. And the more and more I continue with those life-affirming thoughts, with those life-affirming statements and mantras, the more that I continue having life-affirming conversations and hanging out with people who are life-affirming, then the more that becomes my natural way of being. And it's not that it becomes my natural way of being. This is the revealing experience. So really what happens is I'm simply revealing my natural state of being. The other stuff is artificial. The other stuff is a lie. So as we shed the lies, as we deny that stuff that is no longer true, really what's happening is we're opening up and we're allowing our natural state to reveal itself, to reveal its glory, to reveal its beauty, to reveal its love, to reveal its power, its wholeness, its eternality. We're simply allowing life to reveal itself in, through, and as us. Make sense? Yeah. So let's take that into our quiet time. Let's take that idea into our meditation time. So the invitation is to clear your laps. And I'll read just from today's lesson so that we can take that into our meditation. Out of the Scientific Christian Mental Practice book by Emma Curtis Hopkins, she says, you will perceive as you go on thinking of first principles that it is your nature to be happy and powerful in proportion to your ability to appreciate what is good. In the beginning, God created, and it was good. There was light, and it was good. There was the ocean, and it was good. There were the animals. the birds of the heavens and the crawling creatures of the land, and it was good. It was good. So our attention is on good. So today my attention is on all the good around me. I am aware of God's presence in all things. I abide in this awareness of goodness. So however we use our time in this moment, let us recognize the good of our life. Could be as simple as someone holding a door open for us, or a smile, or an embrace, or anything. Let's name it good. Let's review our day. Let's simply see all the good, all the God that is in our life, so that we might continue to pay attention to that Godness, that goodness that is within.